Hey, welcome to the deep dive. So this deep dive is curated just for you based on material you sent us. We're digging into a script from a language learning guide, and it's all about how to train your brain to think directly in English.
Yeah, it's a really common problem, isn't it? That internal translation step that just slows everything down. And this guide you shared, it suggests ways to, bypass that. Aim for more automatic, fluent English.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack the best strategies from this guide. We're looking for those practical daily habits, the mindset shifts it talks about, that can really help you stop translating and start thinking in English. What are the key takeaways for you? Okay, let's get into it. So, the absolute core idea here, why is it actually so important to think in English? Why not just translate?
Well, the big benefit the guide highlights is that your speaking becomes much more fluid, more
Yeah.
automatic. It uses this analogy like switching from walking with crutches, there's the translation, to just running freely. You're cutting out that whole conscious, clunky step in the middle.
Right, right. You lose those awkward pauses while your brain is, searching and translating. And it sounds like it's about building that fluency, that natural flow, not necessarily hitting perfect grammar right away.
Exactly. Perfection isn't the goal here. The process inside your head changes. So instead of thinking maybe je veux un café in French and then figuring out the English, the idea is the English thought, I want a coffee, just pops up directly, connects the idea straight to English. And that's really where the interesting part is, sort of rewiring things.
Okay, so how do we start that rewiring? The guide gives some practical starting points, right? Simple sentences.
Yeah, it suggests using those really common everyday phrases, things you think all the time anyway. And the technique is basically say the sentence out loud, but also, and this is key, really visualize the action.
Okay, so like the examples in the script. I'm getting ready for the day. As I say that, I should picture myself, I don't know, brushing my teeth, grabbing clothes.
Precisely. Link the words to the actual physical experience.
Hmm.
Or another one. What should I wear today? Say it when you're actually looking in the mirror or at your closet. Makes it real.
I need to check my emails. Yeah, I probably think that like 50 times a day.
Exactly. It uses thoughts you already have. That constant internal chatter is perfect practice material.
Huh. And I like this one they included. I don't feel like working today. Very relatable.
Definitely relatable. But see, the point is, these aren't just dry exercises. They're real thoughts you're already having, just nudged into simple English. It weaves the practice into your actual life.
Okay, so it's not just about repeating set phrases. The material mentions building specific mental habits too.
One really effective one it calls the narration method.
Hmm.
This is where you silently, or maybe even whisper it, just describe what you're doing as you're doing it.
So if I'm making coffee, I'm thinking or saying, I'm walking to the kitchen, I'm getting the coffee, I need a filter, that kind of thing. How does that specifically help get past the translation step?
Good question. It forces a direct link. You see the action, like walking, and your brain has to grab the English word walking right away. There's no time or less incentive
Yeah.
to go via your native language first. It builds that direct object to English or action to English connection.
I see. It shortcuts the detour, training the brain to fetch the English word first. And then there is the labeling method, too.
Yeah, super simple, but effective. Sticky notes. Put English labels on things around your house. Mirror, fridge, door, window.
Huh.
Just seeing those words constantly reinforces that this object is fridge in English. It makes English feel like the natural label in that context.
Okay, this next one the guide suggests talking to yourself in English. Might feel a bit strange at first.
It might,
Yeah.
but it's incredibly powerful. The guide explains it works because you're essentially forcing your brain to live in English for those moments. You're activating the language parts of your brain for your own internal monologue, not just for talking to others.
Mhm.
You become your own practice partner.
Okay. And it gives examples of just short, everyday thoughts for this self-talk.
Like, what time is it? Simple stuff.
Or, I should finish this task first.
Let's go for a walk.
Where are my keys? Another one I think constantly.
Exactly. These little thoughts pop up all day long. By consciously making the effort to voice them, even quietly in English, you create dozens of tiny practice sessions, reinforcing those pathways we mentioned.
So, building on that, the guide sets up a specific practice challenge called the thinking loop. What's involved there?
Right. This is more focused. The idea is you dedicate a set block of time. Could be short, like 10 minutes. Could be longer. And during that time, you make a real commitment to think only in English.
And the key rule, the really important part from the material, is if you hit a word you don't know, you don't switch back.
Exactly. No switching back to your native language. That's the discipline. You either, skip over it and rephrase or try to explain it using other English words you do know. That's
Yeah.
actually a core part of fluency, isn't it? Adapting and finding ways to communicate even when you don't have the perfect word.
Yeah, that sounds challenging, but I see the value. It forces you to rely on your existing English toolkit. The guide gives more practice sentences for this loop too, right?
Mm-hmm. More everyday internal thoughts. I'm hungry. What should I eat?
Let me check the time.
I have a lot to do today. Classic.
This is taking longer than I thought. Also very classic.
I need to call my friend.
So these are prompts to keep that English thinking going during the dedicated time. And you can do it silently or write them down or whisper them.
Yep, whatever works for you.
Mhm.
In your head, in a notes app, whisper it aloud. The method matters less than the consistent effort of thinking in English.
Now, there's a really important point about mindset in this material that we should probably touch on.
Oh, absolutely vital. The guide really stresses this. You do not need perfect grammar to start thinking in English.
Yeah.
That's often a huge mental block people put up for themselves.
Yeah.
My grammar isn't good enough yet.
Right. So what is needed, according to the guide?
Consistency, just doing it regularly, even short bursts of practice frequently. That's what helps your brain adapt and build those direct connections faster. It's like, building muscle. Little and often gets results.
And be kind to yourself during the process. The guide says frame every little thought you manage in English as a win.
Exactly. Every attempt counts. Don't beat yourself up over mistakes. It's part of learning.
The material even shares a story, a real-life example, Leela from Brazil.
Yes, it mentions Leela. Apparently, she started using that self-talk technique, just narrating her breakfast routine, thinking things like, I'm frying an egg. Where's the salt? I need a plate. Simple things.
And the outcome, what happened?
After just 3 weeks of doing that consistently, the guide says she felt noticeably more confident speaking English with her online teacher. It's a great example of how these small, seemingly minor daily actions can really add up to significant progress.
It really is, shows it works. And building on that, the guide suggests practicing thoughts for specific situations.
Yeah, breaking it down makes it more manageable. So for your morning routine, you could practice thinking, I need to take a shower, or I should brush my teeth, or just what time is it?
Okay. And for, say, going to work or school.
Things like, I'm running late, maybe, ugh, the bus is crowded today, or I hope the traffic isn't bad.
Or when you're shopping.
Okay, I need some milk. Where are the eggs? Let's check the price on this.
And then at home in the evening.
Maybe. Good. I'm tired. Or, what should I watch on Netflix? What should I cook for dinner?
So practicing these kinds of thoughts primes your brain, right? So when those situations actually happen, the English is closer to the surface.
Exactly. You're kind of preloading the language you're likely to need. Makes the reaction more automatic in the moment.
The guide also mentioned linking the thinking with the speaking. How does that work?
It calls it the think it then say it method. Pretty straightforward, actually. You consciously form the complete sentence in your mind first, and only then do you say it out loud.
So like the example, I need to find my phone. I actually construct that sentence fully in my head before I speak it.
Yep. The guide suggests this creates a kind of full-body language experience. You're engaging your brain to formulate, then your mouth to articulate, then your ears to hear the English. It reinforces the whole cycle.
Interesting. And another technique was asking yourself questions in English. Power questions, I think they called them.
Yeah, these are great because they push you beyond simple narration into actual reflection.
Yeah.
Creates little internal conversations like,
Huh.
what do we want to do today?
How am I feeling right now?
What did I learn yesterday? Good one for review.
What time is my next meeting? Practical stuff.
See, these questions make you think and process information, maybe formulate slightly more complex answers all inside your head in English. It's almost like mental journaling, which the guide also mentions as a related practice.
Right, writing it down takes it a step further. Makes sense. What about using TV shows or YouTube? Does the material see value there?
Oh, definitely. It suggests picking maybe simpler shows to start, possibly using subtitles. The active part is key, though. Don't just passively watch. Pause the show. Repeat lines the characters say.
Or, and this sounds interesting, pause it and say what you would say in that situation.
Exactly. That's a great step up. The guy gives an example. Character says, I'm late for my meeting. Yeah. You pause and think, or say aloud something like, oh no, you should have left earlier. Or maybe, don't worry, maybe they'll wait. You're generating your own relevant English response to what you're seeing.
That really forces you to react in English, doesn't it? Okay, the guide wraps up with one last quick practice challenge. Maybe we can try a quick version for everyone listening.
Good idea. So we'll give you a situation. Pause for just a second. You try to think or whisper your immediate English reaction. Then we'll give the guide's example. Ready?
Okay, first one. You just woke up late. Pause. What do you think or say?
The guide's example. Oh no, I overslept.
Okay, next. You spilled your coffee all over the table. Pause. Your reaction.
Example. Ugh, that's a mess. I need paper towels. Or maybe just shoot.
Ha, yes. Last one. Your friend sends you a text asking to meet up for dinner tonight. Pause. What's your thought?
Example. Sounds great. What time? Or maybe, oh, let me check my calendar.
Hopefully, doing those little prompts gives you a feel for how quickly your brain can jump to English in everyday moments.
Yeah, it's about building that reflex.
So let's try and summarize the main takeaways from this material you shared. The biggest thing seems to be consistency. Even just a few minutes every day, consciously practicing these thinking techniques makes a real difference. And use different methods, thinking silently, saying it out loud, maybe writing it down, mix it up.
Absolutely. And the specific challenge the guide puts forward is pretty clear. For the next 7 days, try it. Commit to at least 10 minutes each day where you are actively, consciously thinking in English. Use narration, self-talk, the labeling, those power questions, whatever resonates.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with, something to chew on from this deep dive. Think about how much internal dialogue runs through your head constantly in your native language, right? It's nonstop. What could happen to your fluency, your confidence, if you just managed to shift, say, 10 or 20% of that internal chatter over to English?
It's a really interesting question about harnessing that mental energy you already have.
Definitely. We really hope this deep dive into your source material has given you some concrete ideas, some practical tools to start training your brain. Give them a real try. We'll speak slowly and naturally here as we wrap up.
Yeah, keep practicing. Keep thinking in English. You'll get there.
Goodbye for now.